Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's time for you to do something for me. It has come to pass, via various emails flying around and replies and this, that and the other, that one of the emails contained the programme for the Bournemouth Orchid Society. And it's got, Roger needs to do a talk at this point. And yes, I remember agreeing to that. That was a very long time ago. The trouble is with the Bournemouth Orchid Society, the guy who's done the programme in the past, because he's dropping that job now, works 2 years ahead. So when he asks you if you could do a talk in the next programme, he's on about in 2 years' time, not next year, sort of thing. So it's caught up with me. And in addition to that, emails flying around with the Wessex Orchid Society trying to plan for next year, and they've come up with a really good idea as far as I'm concerned. Everything stays in-house for the first 6 months. So no external speakers, no worried about whether they turn up or not, whether they'd be allowed to turn up. If it's in-house, and for some reason we're not allowed to have the meeting, nothing's lost. So I like that idea. But unfortunately, in amongst one of those talks is me again. Now I don't need 2 different ones, but I need one. And this is where you people come in. There are people out there watching this channel that I think actually know my orchids better than I do. You've just got better memories, I suppose. But I can only really do a talk on something I know about, and as I've said before, I only know about what I grow. I don't bother finding out about types of orchids that I don't grow. Until such time as I would choose to do that, I see no point in having that knowledge. I don't want to know everything about all orchids. It's too big a subject for a start. I'm happy to know enough to keep my orchids alive with the types I've got. So that's what I'm limited to. Obviously, I've got photos of blooms. I've started taking photos of whole plants when they're in bloom, which are useful for this type of thing, whereas in the past I'd just do close-ups of the blooms or a little bloom cluster. So I'm trying to remember to get a picture of the whole plant now and again, but I do forget quite frequently. But that's what I'm limited to, is the subject matter must be in here. So it's about what's in here or how, yeah, or kit, although I think I've already done that in a talk to both societies. But my style of talk is effectively a video presentation without any sound. So I video everything. That can still include some stills, which I've done before, and obviously I can put words up on the screen. I can do all that, but basically the video plays for 40-45 minutes and I narrate it live. So that's how they work. But for you good people, I will narrate a soundtrack to put to the presentation, so you get to see it like a talk. Now for you it'll just seem like one of my normal videos, but we get a run through so that any text that's up on the screen, you good people get first look at it to tell me what I've spelt wrong or where the word's wrong and things like that, because you can't spell check a video. It don't work like that. So what I'm after is subject matter. Yeah? What can I do a 40-45 minute talk about in here that needs to be able to be aimed at very experienced growers in some cases, general growers in many cases, and some beginners in some cases. But it needs to be okay for the whole range, from those that have been growing 50 years with RHS awards coming out their ear holes, that mainly grow plants you've never heard of and can't even pronounce, down to those that have a collection of Phalaenopsis on their windowsills, like a lot of you. It's got to be able to be of some interest to all of them. Can't expect to be interested for the whole period if you're a specialist grower. So there you go then. Get your thinking caps on. What can I do? I'm not saying I'm stuck for ideas, but I am sort of stuck for ideas, I suppose. I would come up with something if left to my own devices, but I thought if I've got a lot of thinking people out there, you know, that can get their thinking caps on, think about what I've got, the sort of things I've covered in the past, and it needs to have some flow to it, although it doesn't need to all be about the same thing, but it needs to have some connectivity to make a 40, I'll say 40 minutes, because with a bit of introduction and a closing statement, I've got 45 minutes, plus time for questions after. So 35 to 40 minutes of video presentation will be fine. So a subject that I can waffle on about for that amount of time and be of interest to that level of people. So these are not non-orchid people, because I've still got that talk to put together. But all those talks have been cancelled basically until next year. So, and I've got the material for that talk, I just haven't put it together. I've already done that talk once. Last time I gave that talk, I didn't like it. You know, I had to continue with it because I'd started, so I'll finish and all that. But I thought I can do that better, so I'm going to redo that one and put it together differently. I'll put that one up on YouTube as well when it's done, but there's no rush for that. So there we go then. That's your challenge for today, is to come up with some subject matter based on what I grow in here, how I grow it, and what I need to grow it, and possibly even the different times of year that I do that growing. So in amongst there, a 40-minute subject, please, and see what you can come up with. There's no prize apart from the fact whoever's idea. The trouble is there'll be overlap. I know there will. There'll be quite a lot of people who'll suggest the same thing. But whichever subject I choose, I'll mention everybody that put that idea together for me, if you see what I mean. So if you run a channel, you'll get your channel mentioned, or you just get your name. I mean, obviously there's an awful lot of people watch my channel that they have just got a name channel, as I call it. They don't make videos, they have no content, but they're still a very active member of the YouTube community. There's more of those than there are channel runners. There's more channel owners, that's everybody. But then the channel runners are those that do put subject matter up, and they're much thinner on the ground. Although there's a lot more nowadays than there ever used to be. Anyway, see what you can. You've had all day to come on, and you choose now, right next to the camera as well. That means we've got up to 21 degrees for the first time today, and it's late in the afternoon now. So see what you can come up with, and I'm sure there'll be some really good ideas in amongst there somewhere. It mustn't be too scientific. It loses people. So yeah, we can do feed, but not to the nth degree. I mean, I don't mind that, but a lot of people just glaze over, quite honestly. We've tried it on here on YouTube before, and I can hear people glazing over. And then after I've done it and put the video up, I thought, nah, that went on too long and it got too deep. Yeah. So somewhere in there, there's some subject matter that's going to be useful. I suppose you could sit back and sort of think, if I'd gone to an Orchid Society meeting, I know a lot of you don't know what they're like because you can't get to an Orchid Society, but quite a few do belong to one, or go to meetings or whatever, or go to a show where there might be a talk going on to one side. If you had to sit down for 40 minutes and listen to me live with a big screen and sound system and everything, what would interest you to listen to and watch for that amount of time? Let's see what you can come up with, and see you next time. Thanks for dropping by and all that. So I've been holding this, I haven't even touched it yet, I've only just poured this out. Now I shall go and sit down and enjoy it. Oh, and off subject, for interest's sake, I bought a little home blood pressure checker, and I wish I hadn't, because it's too high. So we're going to have to do something about that, and that unfortunately might be one of the things we'll have to cut back on, for obvious reasons. I mean, I don't drink an excessive amount, but I drink it every day. That's the thing that could be the problem. We might have to have a few days off now and again. I can probably manage that. I've packed in smoking. I've got a pretty healthy diet, but we could debate the amount. And I also, for the first time in probably 10 years, got the scales out because they were buried in the cupboard. Blow all the dust off, put them down on the floor, stood on the scales, and a little voice went, "Get off!" Basically, I am not far off 13 stone, my weight for the last 30 years has hovered around 11.5 stone. I know some of you do kilograms, but I don't. I can't cope with that for people's weight. It doesn't mean anything to me. I have to have stones and pounds. So I'm about 12 stone 12. 12 stone 11, 12 stone 12. So I've got to lose one. That's got to go down to 11 stone something. And putting it on is very easy. I presume it started at the beginning of this year and has slowly progressed. Not necessarily unnoticed. You know, when my jeans have just been washed and they're all nice and shrunk back to their size and not stretched through putting them on and off and all that sort of stuff, and you go to do them up and you think, oh, that's a bit of a struggle. So yeah, the waistline's got bigger. We've got more round here and it's got to go. So we'll have to start working at that. The easy answer is to eat less. And then that's usually followed by and move more. You know, you have a bit of trouble with that. But what I am going to do is something I can do in there where nobody can see me. It's not weather dependent, and it's something I used to do an amount of. So I'm going to start doing Tai Chi again, which I can practice indoors. That's for mobility and exercise, not for its other purpose, mind you, although it can be used for that. And was once upon a time, a long time ago. But yeah, it's a gentle form that suits older people, which I am now, I have to accept that. You know, that might have a few stiff joints here and there, that we might just want to make move just a little bit more. So I think I'll use that as a gentle form of exercise first thing in the morning. And yeah, so some changes coming up. High blood pressure is dangerous at the end of the day for many reasons. The next thing I need to do is, first of all, you have to ask yourself, well, why? Why has it done that? Well, the obvious reason is cholesterol, bunging up the works. And I haven't had that checked for 20 years, something like that. When did I last get that checked? I was working in Wales at the time, so it's a long, long, long time ago. For a start, I was working. Yeah, so I need to get that checked, because if that's grown, if that's raised, you know, the narrowing effect that has automatically puts your blood pressure up, when in fact that's the problem, not the high blood pressure. But it's a matter worth dealing with. So we look at the diet. You know, I've got virtually no salt in my diet. I even objected to the amount of salt I put in my homemade bread, because I thought that's quite a lot. So I took some out. You know, I don't need salt. I hardly ever use. I never have salt on the table. I don't put salt in things or on things. So I don't have a worry about that. I don't eat many processed foods, although I do have a steak pie for tea tonight. That's processed food. That'll have far too much salt in it, but it's only one meal. It's not like I'm doing it for 3 meals a day. So now and again. I need to cut out the pizzas, my emergency snack evening meal when I can't be asked to cook, basically. So every now and again, I'll hoik a pizza out the freezer. A frozen pizza's got too much of lots of things in it, so we stop that, or stop doing it so often. So some changes in the food. I eat a lot of fish. I don't eat that much red meat now. I love a steak now and again, but it's not like that often. Perhaps once a fortnight I'll have a steak meal. I have some pork chops now and again. They're not really a red meat, they're halfway between the two. So I don't have that much meat, really. I mean, the chili that I make, my chili con carne, that's no meat in that now. That's a veggie version. That's just all the beans and, you know, the onions and all that sort of stuff. So some changes coming up, and I've set myself a little spreadsheet up. And first thing in the morning, once a week, I will get on the scales. You don't need to do that every freaking day, do you? Don't change that quick. I suppose if you stopped eating for 5 days, it might change quickly, but it wouldn't do you a lot of good, would it? And that's not the way to lose weight dramatically, is stop eating. Gently. So we'll check the weight once a week. As long as it stays the same or starts going down, I'll be relatively happy, but I need it to go down, basically. Slowly but surely. And then I'm going to check my blood pressure when I get up first thing in the morning and sometime during the evening, because I normally don't start drinking this until the evening, and I'd like to see if it has a direct effect, like a now effect. But long term, I know it does, so we probably have to cut back on that a bit. My coffee I've already cut in half, so my caffeine intake has been halved by mixing half decaf and half normal. Yeah? So I have the same number of cups, but that number of cups is half the caffeine. Apparently I should drink green tea. No. I don't mind making some changes, but I'm not going to have my life suffering to achieve this. So yeah, so it's important to look after yourself, and I think this last 3 or 4 months things have been neglected. We've had a lot of snacky type things in the fridge. Oh, let's have one of them. It's boredom food. Don't need that food. Not exactly hungry, but it's there. And if it's there, you'll eat it. So a simple solution to that, don't buy it anymore. So we don't have crisps in the house. We've got nuts, got quite a few assortment of nuts, and I have a little handful of nuts each evening. They're very good stuff, nuts. I need to switch back to start eating my breakfast cereal again. The reason I stopped doing that is I'd run out of milk too flipping quick, and I'd have to go to the shop to get it, which, you know, in over past months, that's been a big deal. You know, to go to the shop with the risk involved just to get milk for a breakfast cereal, blow it, I'll have toast, you know. So I need to get back into eating that, because that's whole grain. That's a major source of whole grain. And yeah, we'll make some changes, not dramatic, because I still need to get up with a smile on my face, don't I? You know, if your changes to your lifestyle make you miserable, that probably does more harm than the thing you're trying to get rid of, if you see what I mean. So I'm not going too mad. So we'll make some changes, and we'll monitor the blood pressure. Now, in with the blood pressure, you've got the high number and the low number, and quite honest, it's my low number that's higher than I would like, quite a bit higher than it should be. The high number is within a manageable range. The low number is not. It doesn't match. When you look at all the readings for different age bands and things like that, you get a pair of numbers. My pair are out of sync because my low number's up in the next band, if you see what I mean. But what is good is, goes back to being an athlete for an awful lot of my life, I suppose, is my heart rate, my heartbeat is just under 60. I think it was 57 when I checked it. So I haven't got, my heart isn't racing or anything, but the fact that it beats relatively slowly, and I've got high blood pressure, there's something not matching up there. So we'll keep looking into it, bit at a time, and we'll do some records and see if we can get some changes to happen without going mad. It's not high enough that I'm going to go in the middle of a video, so don't panic. But it's up in a band. I'd prefer to get it back down to the one below, where it used to be. So things have changed. We need to change them back. But we don't need to panic, because that causes more stress and anxiety and pushes your blood pressure up. So we're not going to worry about it, are we? Calm. Anyway, see if you can come up with a subject matter for me. Not that. And we'll see how we get on. And yeah. We'll go from there, and hopefully some good subjects will come up. Who knows, we might even have 2 talks out of this, so I can put one on the shelf, like for emergencies. So we'll see how we go. Let's see what you can come up with. And in advance, thanks for your help. And if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please think about doing so. I'm not going to add that on the end every time. See it. I'm going to have a sip now. How long have I been talking here? Oh, it probably says on here. 20-something minutes, and have I had a sip? No. That's quite nice. That's a new one. It's the one I haven't tried before. That's nice. We'll have some more of that. But not all in one go. That's the bit I need to change. My problem with the wine is... it mostly happens with the white wine, is you get a hot day or something or other, and I have some lunch. I think, actually, I'll have half a glass of wine with my lunch. You can guarantee that bottle will be gone before I go to bed. And that's bad news, a whole bottle. Okay, it's spread out over the whole day, but nonetheless, it's You know, that's the bit that's wrong. I need to not have any of this until it's tea time, and then have some while I'm getting my tea, and then sit down in the evening with a few nuts and finish the glass. Not finish the bottle. That's probably going to be the hardest thing to change, but we will do it, not gradually. I'm not going to do it all at once. And I think I might try having some days where we have none, because that might help a bit. As long as it doesn't stop me sleeping, you know, I get a reasonable amount of sleep. I'm okay with that. Anyway, see you next time. Some titles or some subject matters for a talk that needs to last about 40 minutes-ish. See you next time. Thanks for your help.